3 centuries ago, the first superpowered beings, known as metahumans, appeared on Earth, ushering in a new age of gods and monsters. 3 decades ago, an extraterrestrial baby was sent in a spacecraft to Earth and adopted by Kansas farmers. 3 years ago, the baby, now grown, announced himself as Dakota, the first host of Project Ecology. And I'm joined as always with
Anthony, I've been spending some time at a convention in a galaxy with a red sun, so I've just been having a good time. How about you? Let me send you over to our third host.
Rich, I've been just basically working photography for a little bit lately, and I've been just, dating all the girls because I'm a human, but I do work at a newspaper. That's what I've been doing over the last couple of weeks since you guys haven't heard us.
That's how you get the girls. Yes.
Yes.
Guys, we are covering Superman today, the 2025 film by James Gunn. It's the start of the DCU on the big screen. Obviously, Creature Commandos came out last year, I believe, or earlier this year, I forget. But yeah, so this is the first time that we're seeing this new superhero universe on screen, or semi-new, but we'll get to that later. And I'm excited to dive into this. Anthony, you said this was episode 126 of Project Ecology?
Correct.
Congratulations, folks. You're witnessing in real time episode 126 of Project Ecology, but not in real time because we're recording this earlier. Guys, before we talk about Superman, which I think we're all kind of really jazzed about, and I think there's a definite vibe shift in the conversation so far, and I think it's because we're all hopped up on coffee and it's the first thing in the morning.
Yeah, man, this is like this is the first thing we're doing today is recording a podcast. We haven't done a morning podcast in a long time.
Long time. I think this is the first morning podcast for Rich.
Yep, 100%.
All right, guys. So we have a lot to catch up on because we have been away for a couple weeks as a team. I know, Anthony, you released the Crunchyroll minisode last week. So, guys, check that out if you haven't already. A deep dive into the early stages of Crunchyroll and how it became what it is today.
It's crunchy.
It's crunchy, yeah. Yes. Be sure to give that a 5-star crunchy review when you get the chance. Anthony, what have you been up to this past couple weeks?
Well, the reason why we're actually recording on a Sunday morning. We usually record on Wednesday nights. My mom came into town, so I wasn't able to record earlier in the week, but also the reason why I haven't been able to record in the evenings on Friday, Saturday, or today is that I've been going to a convention this weekend, man. I've been going to SuperCon, and yeah, man, I've been enjoying myself. We'll have to definitely expand a little bit more on that. I'm there with the press pass. Thank you all thank you, fans of Project Ecology. I would not be able to do it if it weren't for y'all. But man, that's where I'm gonna head right after this. We're gonna record this, and then I'll get ready, maybe take a shower and head out, man.
All right, so we're recording a super early podcast for Superman, and then you're gonna get super ready to go to SuperCon.
Yes.
That's on this Super Sunday.
Yes. It's a super podcast, man.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, awesome, bro. That's we'll have to touch base on you in a little bit just to see how SuperCon is going. Rich, what have you been up to?
Surprisingly, not too much baseball because we were on an All-Star break. So just kind of relaxing. My son's at camp. So
All-Star Super break.
Yes, All-Star, the Super All-Star break, where we did have a lot of number of Mets playing in the game, but I will not regale you guys with all of that. My son's been away at camp, so it's a little weird because the house is kind of empty.
And quiet. It's so quiet.
It is weird. I think I told you guys I commandeered the Switch 2 for my son, so I've been playing Breath of the Wild. He had kind of bullied me into facing Ganon before I did my completionist stuff, so I went back to my save and I've been playing that a lot, and I just bought Days Gone remastered. It's one of my favorite games from the Xbox 360, I believe it was on at first, or maybe it was PS5. I really enjoyed it. What's the same? Who's the guy who did the voice of who does a lot of voice acting in Star Wars? Sam Witwer or something?
Yeah, Sam Witwer.
Yeah, so he's the main character in the game. It's his likeness and everything. I just love the game. It's basically a zombie apocalypse, and you have a motorcycle, and you can upgrade the motorcycle to help you, survive. And then there's kind of there's a little bit of a story in there. It's not just like random zombie apocalypse stuff. There's actually like a thread going through it. So I really enjoy it. If you guys haven't played it before,
I haven't played it. Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Way worth it because it's remastered now, so it looks a lot better. But I mean, I watched a video that kind of described it as you being MacGyver, like a MacGyver in the zombie apocalypse, because you just have these hordes. And when I say hordes, I'm talking like on the screen, you'll see like 70 zombies coming at you. Like you'll see these. I mean, these hordes are, quite honestly, I can't remember the last time that I played a game, and I don't like to play a lot of horror games, but that I played a game where I was gripped with anxiety as I'm playing it. I'm like, oh, that horde! I have to get away from, just like panic. It's a great game, so highly recommended.
I haven't felt that way since playing Need for Speed Underground 2.
I'm telling you, you might actually.
Just kidding.
You got me again. You got me.
You gotta go back to Left 4 Dead 2, man.
All those zombie hordes in Need for Speed, man. That actually does sound like a really good time, and I'm sure my wife would love that. Being the baby that she is, she can't even watch like a scary trailer for a movie. Like she'll have to like close her eyes in a theater, or else she'll have literal nightmares for days. But yeah, that would be fun to subject her with. Let's see. I am probably the primary reason we were not able to record last. I was the primary reason we could not record. I was not at my house. I was in my second home that I rent from Mickey Mouse. I went to Walt Disney World. I went with my brother-in-law and his girlfriend. First time, doing a trip with them, and that was fun. It's always fun going somewhere where you're very familiar with everything and showing other people the ropes. Whether it's Rich, I'm sure you've brought a bunch of people to Citi Field for the first time and here's where this is.
It's my favorite thing to know.
It's the best. It's the best. So being able to share experiences with other people is like one of like the coolest things about anything that you can be a part of. And yeah, doing something as like big and grandiose and expensive as Walt Disney World, it's fun. It's a good time, looking at everything for the first time through someone else's eyes. So that was cool. And yeah, other than that, I think Superman is the big thing that happened over the past couple weeks, and it's become something I've been thinking a lot about, and I'm happy that we're covering it this week because I need to talk about it to someone, I guess before we jump into our discussion of Superman, Anthony, what are some of the panels and stuff that you've been to? What are some of the people you've met with the press pass? I want to hear some experiences from SuperCon. What's going on over there?
Well, with SuperCon, I kind of I want to like wait until, I want to like give more of a comprehensive like coverage on it. But some of the panels that I've gone to, like I've gone to like some of the cosplay contest. Believe it or not, like there was a lost one. Who was at this convention? Josh Holloway, Sawyer.
Oh, I love Sawyer.
Oh.
John Boyega is actually here too.
Was he at the Lost panel?
No. No, but they've had there's been a couple different panels. There's also some of there's the voice actors for Yugi and Kaiba from Yu-Gi-Oh.
Wait,
also have
he plays the same person, or he plays two different people in the same show?
No. Like the
there's
actors,
two separate.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And we also have, and this is this is like, he's well known, but Chris Sabat, and
Yeah.
he does the voices of, like, well, most notably with us growing up, he did Vegeta in Dragon Ball Z. But then he also does All Might from My Hero, Yami from Black Clover. So he's well known. There's also Eric Vale that's there. He's done a lot also, most notably Sanji from, or also Chris Sabat does Zoro from One Piece, and then Eric Vale does Sanji from One Piece, among like several other characters. And there's also a couple people that do voices, and Persona. I gotta.
What's that?
If you go back to the hundreds of podcasts that we've covered, that'll refresh you.
Okay, I will.
But yeah, man, it's been fun.
Or as you would pronounce it in Spanish, persona.
Oh, Persona. I know.
Persona.
I love
Yeah,
that.
man.
Yeah, it's a good
Golden.
But yeah, dude, and I've been trying to. I've also kind of been like thinking of, who I want to cosplay next. Like, because I've done Obi-Wan several times, but I want to do somebody from One Piece, and so I'm still trying to like figure that stuff out. But yeah, man, it's been a good time. I definitely want to cover it, but still in the midst of it. I'm gonna be heading back there after we're done recording. Maybe not right away, but I'll head there. I think they open up at 10. I'll probably get there probably by noon.
How far is it from you?
It's not terribly far, depending on traffic. I mean, today it should only take me. It should take me about like 45 minutes to get there.
And guys, it's only 5 miles away. That's how bad Miami traffic is.
Oh my gosh, dude! Can you imagine?
I'm kidding.
But it's a Miami Beach. That's what makes it terrible.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
Even on a Sunday. It's just Florida, man. It's just so skinny. There's only one road that you can go on.
Oh man, one of the very few reasons why I go to Miami Beach. Other than that, I'd never go there. Dude, I went to a Raising Cane's yesterday, and it was like literally a club.
That's bizarre.
Dude, it had a DJ in there. I'm like, I've never been to a Raising Cane's that had a DJ in there. Like, I'm like, what is going on? But it made sense because it was Miami Beach. So, like, I mean, you really don't.
I'm sorry, that still doesn't make sense, Anthony. It still doesn't. It's a Raising Cane's.
No, dude. Like, Miami Beach, they're extra. That's
I know.
That's like thinking chickens roaming around down in South Florida, or it's. Rich, we have chickens in South Florida, like, just roaming the streets.
And peacocks.
And peacocks, yeah.
And peacocks. Actually, there's probably more peacocks than there are chickens.
Like, dude, it's crazy. The further you go out, like to the Redlands / like you start going towards like the Everglades and stuff, man. You see a lot of peacocks, man. Them dang rich people, bro. They bringing them peacocks over, bro.
I don't know about that. All that noise. That's
but
crazy.
the chickens are definitely from like all the migrants.
Yeah. Another thing that's actually like changed the ecosystem quite a bit in the past like decade or two is like the iguana issue that you guys have in South Florida, dude.
It's the best.
It's out of control.
It has given us so much joy to watch. Like, honestly, one of Charlie's favorite things to do when he was like, I don't know, maybe it was during pandemic, right? During that era. Yeah. He's just loved watching videos of iguanas falling off trees in Florida.
In the cold, yeah.
Yeah, because they get so cold,
they're literally, their body temperature just drops to nothing, and they just fall out of trees and hit people.
I think it's safe to say that Florida is the Australia of the United States.
Oh, 100%.
Oh, yeah. All right, let's cool it with the Florida discussion, because Florida, I don't think, has anything to do with the discussion at hand today.
Oh, he doesn't visit in the movie?
That where you find
he went to
kryptonite?
Florida.
No, that was Bravia.
I thought he had a South Florida man.
Oh, actually, they do visit Florida. Yeah, when they go into that pocket universe. There's a lot of Florida men in this in that pocket universe. True. It was yeah.
I mean, the Peacekeeper's dad could be like a Florida man.
I could believe it. All right, guys, let's talk about Superman 2025, James Gunn. Off the cuff, what are your first opinions? Like, dislike, ambivalent? Anthony, let's start with you.
Well, I'm gonna start on the cuff. You know,
Why was that so funny to me? Sorry.
Oh man, we should do morning shows more often. Coffee's like actually like making this a lot more fun.
You know, for me, I was coming into it, you know, cautiously optimistic. You know, I wasn't too sure. I felt like the trailers weren't really like. I guess the trailers didn't really do the movie justice, but you know, I started to see the reviews come in. I was like, okay, so it must be like pretty decent. But yeah, man, so far, or you know, like my thoughts like after the movie was like, you know, that was surprisingly better than I expected. You know, it you know, a lot of, I mean, you also hear like a lot of people, which, you know, for me, like I don't care what, like if I enjoy something, I enjoy something. But you know, I think that was like the same case for a lot of people. A lot of people are like, this movie, I don't think it's gonna be good. And then like, you know, they leave thinking like, oh wow, this was actually good.
Yeah, I think you know, just jumping off of what you just said there, a lot of people going into this film are looking at the trailers, looking at the promotional material, looking at the tone of the film. There's a lot going on. There's a lot that happens in this film, and from an outsider looking in, it doesn't look like it will all cohesively mix, you know? But we'll talk about whether or not it works in a little bit. Rich, what are your initial thoughts?
I really liked it. I had moments of like, "F yeah, man, that's Superman." Right?
Superman.
There were those moments where
Superman.
I I think my heart jumped a little bit. I was like, "Oh, that's Superman," you know. And I'm a Smallville guy. I mean, I didn't really get into the DCEU much. I watched a couple of them and whatever, but I was a big Smallville guy. Like really into it. I also watched Lois and Clark. Was really loved that show just because it was like Superman content, and I downloaded it.
Yeah.
I really like this movie, and then you know this kind of forced me, and we'll talk about it later. But I went back, and as I often do, I get into my content like whirlpools. Yeah, spirals. So I immediately went home and
you started spiraling.
Started watching tons of DC content. But you know, after watching a number of those movies, I like a lot about this. I like the colors. And this is even something that my wife's complained about, but just the darkness that we have so many of these movies in. Part of comic books for me is the color, is the brightness, right? Is that they kind of look ridiculous in their costumes. So I loved so much about this. And that's not even talking about the dog yet. That changes everything.
The dog. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead.
They were probably, I think originally the DCEU was probably trying to tap into like the edginess of Marvel, but that only works for Marvel, you know? That's not DC. I mean, DC can get dark, you know, I mean, as we've seen with the Batman, but I mean, Superman, come on, dude. Superman is like mostly bright colors.
I do think that the DC universe is slightly more mature leaning than Marvel's output. Marvel can get dark, and DC definitely can get dark, or is dark, you know, like the entire backbone of their mythos. There's a whole city that's only ever like shown in darkness, you know, like you never see Gotham during the daytime. It's
never. Yeah, never. Yeah, I always thought that was like funny. But well, I mean, but also like, you know, I always saw like, yeah, you know, like Marvel was, you know, it was like the teenager of comics, you know, whereas DC was like, you know, your grandfather's comics, you know, it's that's like the you know, older, you know, yeah,
and,
like you said,
there's a lot of truth to that. I remember
it is,
you know,
like more mature, but then like the colors are, like Rich said, it's brighter, you know, and they tried to get visually dark with the DCEU, and it just didn't work, man. I mean, along with the writing, but they really brightened up like the Superman, and it worked. And I'm really honest with you, like I really do think that Henry Cavill was a fantastic Superman, but he just like he didn't have good writers for him, man. If he had really good writers, I think he would have knocked it out of the park, bro. But
it's heartbreaking for him, to be honest. Like that's the one thing that I take away from like my deep dive, not super deep dive, but my, going back and watching a lot of the movies was, man, like he was so good, and it's just so
dealt with poor hand. Yeah,
such a shame that he's not on this. He's obviously he made the decision to pull himself out of Witcher because he disagreed with the content, but he's just like such a consummate professional that really deep dives into these things that it's a shame that he's not.
And he's a fan. He's obviously a fan.
That's the big yeah.
Yeah, so I'm in agreement with you guys. I also think that Henry Cavill had what it took to be a great Superman. And in many ways, he was a great Superman in a world where he wasn't written very well. Or he wasn't written like Superman. He wasn't written... I think the worst thing about Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman and everything is that I never bought his interpretation of Clark Kent. It didn't ever feel like Clark to me.
He's not bumbling enough.
Not bumbling enough. Too much aura farming. Not giddy enough, and we got that with this film. And I'm excited to jump into that. And again, I like Henry Cavill as an actor. I like his look for Superman, and I wish that he had better material to work with. And that's not to say that this film is necessarily like top tier material always. It's quite goofy in some places, and we'll discuss that. But I just like Rich said, this is Superman. Watching this, and the smile you get at certain scenes, the heart-rending moments that you get just from him saying something nice, is Superman to like the core. And we're also Smallville. Anthony and I grew up on Smallville. Like there were many a weekend where like we would just have the DVD box set of Smallville season 3, and I'd go to his grandma's house and we just watch episode after episode of Smallville. So we were in that age range for
we were binging before Netflix, man.
I always say that Superman is Smallville specifically and Kingdom Hearts are like my benchmarks for like the content that I realize would make me a good human. Like Kingdom Hearts is all about friendship, and Smallville is all about humility, and that's kind of the two benchmarks that I've taken throughout my life about like what I want to emulate in or from content that I consume. But let's jump into Superman. I haven't given my opinion yet. I really liked it. I think this is a really fun film. It's not perfect. There are some things that I'm still trying to grapple with. But I really, as a timeline guy, I like and dislike certain things. I love that we start the film with a timeline, a literal timeline. As I started this podcast with, 3 centuries ago, metahumans. 3 decades ago, Clark sent to Earth, or Kal-El sent to Earth. 3 years ago, he announces himself as Superman. And actually, I read the book. It's a tie-in book called Superman Welcome to Metropolis, and it's actually him and his first week as announcing himself as Superman in the DCU. And it's fun. It's a junior novel, so it's very childish, but it's a fun look at like the early Superman in this world. So that is fun. But yeah, as we go on, we find that Superman first started dating Lois 3 months ago. Then 3 weeks ago, he stopped Baravia from invading Jarhanpur. 3 days ago, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of threes. And it's gotten me thinking that I have to kind of make a breakdown of this in like a YouTube video. So I started writing a YouTube video. I haven't finished writing it, but I might make it into a video. I'm still determining whether or not the script has like enough weight to it. But it is interesting because there's a lot of symbolic 3 stuff happening here. Like you think of Superman's classic quote, "Truth, justice, and the American way." that's a set of three. You have him wearing three primary colors on his uniform: blue, red, and yellow. There's a bunch of, almost like Trinity aspects to the character as well. You could look at it a certain number of ways. You can look at it as like his father, his mother, and him as the son. Like on Krypton, you could look at it as Pa Kent, Ma Kent, and Superman, or like Clark. You could also look at it as like the Father, the Son, and the Yellow Star. Like there's a lot. The whole Yellow Star being the Holy Trinity, or the Holy Spirit rather. And there's a lot of threes in the Superman mythos, and a lot of times that translates to like a very like divinely inspired number. And also the fact that this film takes place over 7 days, and 7 symbolically is a sense of completeness, like a perfect completeness. So I think there's a lot going into the background of this character that like numerologically is really cool and well thought out. Unless I'm just seeing patterns and things that aren't actually there. But yeah, as a timeline guy, I'm thinking about all these things as something that is very well thought out, well intentioned, and I'm excited to explore that more. Sorry, timeline tangent over. You guys can talk about Superman now.
Man, was it, guys, just know that Dakota's a little biased because, Superman is his favorite.
It is, yeah. I would say Superman is in my top 5 fictional characters of all time.
But how about in DC? Number 1?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, yeah, I figured. But, I like that. So you brought up Ma and Pa Kent. And I'm going to be honest with you. I really liked their casting because they made sense for a Kansas, like parents that you would see in Kansas. They have that look, and they have like that, kind of, you would believe that they're farmers, mm-hmm. They had that look. That was immediately what popped up in my head. They had like this sense of homeliness that you would only really get like maybe in the South or like the Midwest,
Yeah, unless I visit a Cracker Barrel, I'm not experiencing that,
Yeah, I mean, like Kevin Costner just felt like a guy who danced with wolves. Like he didn't feel like a farmer,
He
definitely
danced with wolves.
And then Jonathan Snyder felt more like a, he was more like a Duke, a Duke of Hazzard.
Very hazardous.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry. It's an old guy reference. I'm so happy. I'm like, yes! Duke's a hazard, baby.
Yeah, both of them in Smallville, they were definitely like, more, I mean, it was, for a kid, it was like whatever. And still, like, as a show, like, I can suspend that disbelief, but I was thinking that like out of all the Superman material that I've seen, these are like the most believable parents that we have gotten.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like the most believable, but like when it comes to you picturing Kansas farmers, not that they need to be like unattractive or extremely homely, but they felt right at home,
Mm-hmm.
like you did not, there was no, it was as humble of origins as you could possibly expect from Clark. They weren't overly attractive individuals, but they were good people. And that's exactly what Superman needs in any mythos, like he needs to be raised by good people to make the decisions that he ultimately needs to make. Speaking of decisions that he needs to make, I think we should go into, I'm going to put a spoiler warning from here on out. If you haven't seen Superman, going to talk about some spoilery stuff that you won't have received in the trailers. So if you haven't seen it already, please go check the movie out before going forward. We have the message from Jor-El and his mother. And the first half of the movie is interesting because we only get the first half of the message, where he basically tells Kal-El he's sending you down to Earth to do good. And that seems to jive well with the way he was raised in Kansas, in Smallville. That's normal, like we've always, had Jor-El, give a positive or mostly positive message about his purpose in life. But then later on, we find the second half of the recording made by his parents on Krypton is not very PC. It's not very politically correct for the 21st century on planet Earth. And it's actually becomes quite a detriment to him and his mental well-being throughout the film. What are your thoughts on this, guys?
I mean, all right. So like when the message gets unscrambled, right, and we get the second half of it, the fact that like so many people, right, like after he's been, because remember, he's been doing this stuff for a while, right? He's been helping people for a while, right?
The whole world knows him as a helper, yeah.
Yeah, you get the message, and then like a guy just like the minute it comes out, like he has just finished helping people, and then like somebody just chucks like a can at his head, and it's like, are you? I don't know, man. Maybe this is like my Mets fandom, but like I don't give up on someone like in 2 seconds. Like he had done nothing to prove that that's what he was trying to do, and maybe this is like what in terms of timeline, right? Like for me, or pacing, like it just made little sense to me that so many people turned on him so quickly when we literally have like video evidence of people in power saying things, and everyone in like our country goes, meh. I mean, who cares, right? And like that's the actual person saying it. This is his parents telling him to do a thing that he hasn't demonstrably done, right? So for so many to turn on him so quickly was a little bit, even like, you know, like they showed like little kids crying when they heard it, like, or a little kid like looking at his mom like, what now? And it's like, if I were a parent, I'd be like, what has he done to do that? Like, I don't know, maybe it's the English teacher in me. Show me the evidence that I should now hate this man who has saved our lives countless times.
Well, I think that it's a mix of, you know, because they have had a voice in their ear, pretty much like saying like, you know, this is an alien. He doesn't belong to be, you know, he doesn't belong here. You know, he's going to be a danger. And so like pretty much when there was like an evidence of that, like, you know, like not evidence that he was going to do something bad, but like pretty much like a way of proof that, you know, that like, you know, he wasn't originally there for good intention, you know, even though Clark, you know, this was news to him also. It's not like, to me, it wasn't out of the realm of like possibility. I mean, sure, I don't think that everybody would turn on him right away, like, but I would say that like if you do have somebody that's been in your ear saying something over and over, and then as soon as like what they've been saying has kind of been proven, then it'd be like, oh dang, he's actually been saying the truth this whole time, you know? And you know, that being Lex Luthor.
And jumping on what you just said, Anthony, like you've had Lex Luthor for the past 3 years telling the world not to trust this alien. You know, he's come out, he's honest about being not from Earth. And just 3 weeks ago, you have Superman, you know, in his mind, and in reality, he's stopping a war between two countries. But he's going against an ally of the United States. He's essentially stopping an ally from exerting their sovereign right to do whatever the heck they were doing. I don't fully understand the geopolitical context of the film besides, you know, Baravia was...
I think there's some pretty easy modern day conflict.
Okay, so like let's just get that out of the way. We have several wars going on in the world right now, and I think it's a mix of a bunch of them. You know, like you have the Eastern European influence of, you know, like the Russian language and the Russian like lexicon being used in almost like a... I think the more obvious parallel would be like the Israel and Palestine conflict going on, but we also have the Russia-Ukraine conflict. And I feel like Baravia and Jarhanpur are kind of mashed into both of those conflicts together. And I think that was the intent by Gunn and company to, you know, get that across. But whatever your opinions of, what's going on in the world. In this universe, Superman wanted to stop a war. He wanted to stop people from dying. And he did so without killing anyone on either side, which is notable. Like he did give the president of Baravia a hard time, apparently. Put him up against a cactus, made him pee himself. Which is really, really funny because I really liked the actor who played like the leader for that. I thought he was just a very funny guy.
Yeah.
But this caused a moral dilemma within the rest of this world. Like, are his actions sanctioned by any country, or is he just working by himself? And this became an issue politically. And when you get into political issues, even if you're technically, by all rights, on paper, on the right side of history, or on the right side of, doing the morally right thing, if you are opposing the political opinion of, say, half the country, you are now a bad guy. You are now a bad man. You should keep your political opinions to yourself. So, and I think that's where the issue kind of stemmed from. And then adding on top of, the fact that he's an alien, now he has potential cause to basically take whatever he wants, take as many women as he wants into his harem, which I thought was very funny, and repopulate Krypton.
Like Jimmy Olsen would have been a better choice.
Jimmy probably already has, he definitely already has his own little harem. You saw his phone. Yeah. So anyway, what are your thoughts on the change of the messaging? Because I know a lot of people hate it. I know a lot of people think that changes the perceived, like, messianic intent of the Superman character as it's been portrayed in, like, many films, many shows. He's always been this savior figure, but if you're being sent to do evil, you're not really a savior figure unless you choose to do so. And that, I think that's what is, like, the deciding factor about this movie. It's about choice, but I feel like a lot of people are
that. I think we're, because of Smallville.
Yeah.
That was, like, very much show, like, something that was pushed by Jor-El in Smallville,
Mm-hmm.
And naturally Clark fought against it, but, this was something that he knew earlier on in the show. He was still young when he found this stuff out, but it wasn't, I think because of Smallville, it really, like, broke that mold of that kind of character, because he obviously made many mistakes in that show, and yeah,
at least one a week,
and then do you have any red kryptonite?
That was the best.
But yeah, no,
those
definitely.
I love the red kryptonite episodes. Oh my god, they're so fun.
As
soon as you see him in, like, a leather, as soon as you see him in a leather jacket, you're like, oh, bad boy.
He's like, he's on that red kryptonite.
Oh man, he's pulling up in a Harley.
But yeah, I think because of Smallville, that's just something that I grew up being used to. Him being somebody that had to learn a lot and making a lot of mistakes, and him being sent not for such a great reason.
Yeah. Okay. So it paved the way for you.
It makes more sense. It makes way more sense that a planet who was about to be extinct sent out a child to repopulate their culture and their race, right? Rather than, oh no, our planet's dying. You know what we should do? We should send Kal-El to this planet to save them, right? Like, what? That, like in terms of how you would think a world ending would try to repopulate or whatever, propagate their species.
With that. I do agree with that. Yeah, no, I think that's actually a really good point. It's a seemingly normal message from a dying race to their progeny to live on, like, do whatever you can to keep this race alive. Now, a lot of people are saying that, like, the message was, like, destroy the world and, be a horrible person. I don't think they actually said that.
No.
it does sound that way because it just says like, take as many women as you want. And maybe in Krypton, that's, it's okay to be polygamous, like you can have multiple wives, whatever. I don't know. But on Earth, that currently isn't in vogue. So currently, it was in the past. Like a couple centuries ago, that would, or I would say a couple millennia ago, that would have been a real hit message on planet Earth. But Genghis Khan's like, yes.
They rose a mug to him.
Anyway, let's move on. I think we're all in agreement that it was a shock to hear, but it's not like the worst thing in the world, and it's not even the first time Superman has gotten that message from his biological parents. Or a similar-ish message, like he wasn't entirely altruistic in Smallville and everything. But let's talk about, we brought up Jimmy Olsen. We brought up Jimmy Olsen before Lois Lane. Let's talk about Jimmy's harem. What are our thoughts
hilarious.
On?
I thought he was hilarious. And this man had this dude had a mole in like the Lex Luthor camp. Like, and she was like just simping for this man.
So my wife, who's not a major Superman fan, has barely watched any Smallville or anything like that. Maybe watched Man of Steel in the past. She like turns to me in the theater and goes, "So is this Jimmy guy like always a player?" And I'm thinking to myself, and I'm like, "No."
Like he was like in the comics, he was like Superman's like nerdy best friend.
He's the nerdy coworker with a camera. Yeah. But I liked it. And he wasn't. Was he a photographer in this one?
No, I mean he was, but
he also wrote articles.
He also feels a little bit older. And I don't know if this is like, for me in my head, Jimmy's always like fairly younger,
I think Jimmy's in certain stories like the intern of the
Yes. So I was a little confused with that part, but I think that the actor makes it work. Like, I
love his almost like exasperated acceptance of his fate as someone who everyone seems to love. It's funny. It's just funny.
The actor, I think, is really good. And if it had been somebody else of a similar age, I think I don't know if I would have loved it. But I feel like this guy played it off really well. There's something about this. I've seen him also in like The Righteous Gemstones. There's something about him that, although he's a little bit older, does give off a kind of youthful ignorance almost in certain areas that makes him
charming.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Jimmy had a glow up, man.
Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane. I think that's phenomenal casting.
Mm-hmm.
I think it might be the best casting in the movie. Like, I love David Corenswet as Superman. I love Nicholas Hoult. I don't know if I love Nicholas Hoult as Lex, but I like him.
He did a good job.
He did a good job. Yeah.
I think that he did a lot better job than Jesse Eisenberg.
Oh yeah.
I think that I think the Lex in this movie was a lot better.
I do prefer him to Eisenberg. Yeah, I really think Rachel Brosnahan is an absolutely fantastic Lois Lane. Just like gets to the core of who the character is as this quippy and no nonsense reporter. Like even in her personal life with Clark, who she's apparently been dating for roughly 3 months now. She's probably known that he's Superman for a little longer than that. She is willing to break character so that she can go back into reporter mode. And maybe reporter mode is her natural state, Like for Superman, his natural state is Superman. It's not Clark Kent. But for Lois Lane, her natural state is reporter, not, girlfriend. Mm-hmm. And I love that dynamic that they have. That scene where they're arguing while having that interview is just magnetic. You're pulled. I've seen the movie twice now. I went to go see it again after work one day, and it's just I love their chemistry so much. It's so I'm that's my favorite part about this movie is those two actors being on screen together, and I wish they had more time on screen together. There's a lot of like Lois on her own or Lois with a team of reporters with like behind her. I wish there was more Lois and Clark, but I'm glad we have that one scene that's just absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, I think it was. I mean, it actually like I was like angry at her. I'm like, that's your boyfriend. Like, you know, he was trying to save lives, and she went like full reporter, you know, before anything else.
But she had to, and she said she gave him that disclosure, like, you know, this is what, and he gave her the okay for it. Like, you know, he knew that you know, it's in those moments where, you know, you can't let that bias, you know, it's like, you know, you kind of have to get to the heart of it. Otherwise, it would have been just another piece that Clark would have written, you know. That's exactly like what you're asking for is literally what Clark was doing for himself, you know, interviewing himself as Superman. But
I love that line. I love that line where she's like, "Oh, so you've timed your imaginary conversations to yourself."
I don't know. I'm just saying, if Dakota and I were reporters, you know, and our significant others were these super beings trying to do good in the world, and we interviewed that hard, I think we'd be sleeping on the couch for a couple of weeks.
Oh yeah.
Honestly, to tell you the truth, man, like, I feel like true love is knowing when to keep somebody accountable and to challenge them.
That's fair.
Honestly.
Yeah, I like
and
that.
That's what she was doing. Like, she was, and she wasn't wrong though. She wasn't wrong. And you know, we are so used to growing up with Superman, you know, going off and saving the world. If there's an asteroid coming down, I 100% know that nobody's gonna care if this man flies and destroys it. But then, like, once you kind of sprinkle some politics in, and it's like, okay, who are you doing this on behalf of? You know, like, you're obviously, you know, he's like he's based out of, you know, the United States. So obviously everything he does is in the name of the United States. And so once he goes and does all this stuff, you know, it was almost in a way of like her, you know, telling him to be mindful of the things that he does do, even though, like, you know, it's Superman's nature to want to make sure that everyone is okay. You know, it's, yeah, like it's also accountability in a way. Like, you know, you're kind of like the face of the United States, you know, you have to be careful, you know, in that
also,
kind of way.
Sorry to cut you off.
No,
I also liked that she agreed with pretty much everything that he was doing too. Like, you know, off the record, she was just like, yeah, no, I agree with that. But do I know that? So she was doing her job as an unbiased reporter, you know, like, and that hurt. You know, like, because it's so
that's
emotionless.
Actually even harder when you know the person, you know? So it's the fact that she was able to do that goes to show you, like, you know, how strong she is as a reporter. She's good at her job. You know, that's why she's at that place, is because she's so great at her job. And who knows, like, in this world, who knows, like, how much Lois has been dating, you know? Like, I'm pretty sure that, like, you know, she's probably dated like a few guys, but like, she seems like more of like a career woman. And so, like, now that she has like somebody that kind of in her life, you know, that's a balance also for her. So I do, you know, like you said, like, she is that, you know, hard-hitting reporter, and, you know, you don't get there without like really diving into your work.
Speaking about career women, let's also talk about career men and women. We have the Hall of Justice being built, which was fun to see on screen. It put a smile on my face as someone who like grew up just watching Super Friends in the background. This was just something very special to me. But it was kind of,
it's the Justice Gang, bro.
It was sad seeing that it was just 3 members in this Justice Gang. You know, like Hawk Girl, Mr. Terrific, and Guy Gardner's Green Lantern of all people.
Dude,
let's talk about them.
Yes, please. Let's talk about Guy Gardner. Let's talk about the like, you know, because I have like read some of Guy Gardner, and I feel like Nathan Fillion like did a freaking spot on job. Like, he is that like arrogant guy. He is, you know, like, that Green Lantern, that's who he is. He's the like kind of he's not like Hal Jordan. He's a bit of a hard head, and
Oh
like I
yeah.
love that they kept like the comic book haircut.
Yeah,
Dude,
that was the best part. I
he's
thought.
supposed to be a dick. He's supposed to be a dick.
Yeah,
Like that's literally who he is in the comics, and that's who he was on screen.
Yes.
Like at all times, and I love that.
They knocked it out of the park. I think he did a really, really, really good job. I actually really liked he knocked that patrol out of the park. And I laughed. I felt like I laughed every time he was on the screen, like because you almost couldn't take him seriously.
I loved his constructs that he was making. When he was facing the dimensional imp with a baseball bat, and it was just like a bonk bonk sound whenever it hit. I loved that, like a wiffle bat. It was so fun.
I know Rich
so
was
much.
cheering for that when he saw anything baseball related.
I was very excited.
Knocked it out of the park with that one. As well as like when he's in Jarhanpur and he's like flipping over the tanks with the middle finger.
Fingers. Yes.
Hilarious.
Yep.
I love that.
I was like, yeah. I said, yeah, that's this character. Like,
So
I mean,
irreverent
they got
and-
him like perfect, and it's crazy because like we've only really gotten like was it Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan on the screen, but like we haven't really like we've had maybe a couple others, but like the fact that we got Guy Gardner and that was the choice for this film, he was definitely like one of the comedic reliefs in this film.
And it takes someone like James Gunn to be like, that's the Green Lantern I want to play with first.
Yeah.
Nobody would be like the quintessential Green Lantern that we need for this is Guy Gardner, except James Gunn, because it totally fits like his direction, style, and everything. But
man, he likes deep cuts, man.
Yeah,
you saw what he
that
did
was-
with Guardians.
I saw what he did with Guardians. I saw what he did with the Suicide Squad. Yeah, it was terrific. Speaking of terrific, we have Mr. Terrific. Dude, just cool. Just a cool character. Also has my least favorite scene. The scene where they're, in front of the garage hangar and it's just going up slowly. And it's just like, it comes out of nowhere. And it's just like, you wasted like 30 seconds of this film on a garage hangar. Both times I watched the movie, I'm like, this is so dumb. But I do love a lot of his line deliveries. I love that he just doesn't care about like the emotional context of Lois and Clark's relationship. I love that he hates crypto.
Yeah.
What are your guys' thoughts on Mr. Terrific?
I had known nothing about the character, so like I do have a lot of DC blind spots where I didn't read as much of the comics, so a lot of my DC knowledge it just really comes from
Films and shows.
Yeah, films and shows, and I didn't even go that deep with certain stuff. So like I didn't watch was it The Flash on WB or Archer? I didn't watch any of those. Not
Okay,
Archer.
you didn't watch the Arrowverse.
The Arrowverse, sorry. Archer. What am I talking about? Anyway,
You're talking about that FX series.
that's a fantastic show.
Yeah, that's great.
But I didn't know anything about this guy. So I just thought I was like, whoa, like everything he started to do, I was like, whoa, that's pretty cool. That's pretty dope. So I really liked, like I knew nothing about him. I felt like I got to know him in a way that makes me want to see him again. And that's fantastic, I think.
Yeah, I think that Mr. Terrific is a fun character. I wasn't hugely versed on him either. I mean, I knew what his power sets were. I knew like the way that he was portrayed on screen. Anthony, it's kind of like Zenyatta in Overwatch. You know, like with the orbs and like floating around and But yeah, no, it was really really cool to see on screen, and it was such a James Gunn moment to like have that fight scene from Lois's vantage point within that like T-sphere bubble, as like he's just going ham with a stupid song in the background, fun.
Oh yeah. That was actually a really cool scene, man. But yeah, it was that I'm also kind of like with Rich that like I didn't know this character. I don't remember if he's ever really popped up. And, like there's certain like groups that I've seen, like, I like know some of the heroes from like, the Justice Society and, yeah, like he hasn't really ever like popped up for me. I mean, I know, but I knew the others, the other two, Hot Girl and Guy Gardner.
What'd you guys think of Hawk Girl just like screaming randomly whenever she was attacking people like a bird? I thought that was really funny.
Better. So I've been watching Last of Us. So Isabel Merced.
Oh yeah, it's the same actress.
She plays a big role there, and she's just fantastic in Last of Us, to the point where like the character of Dina, for me in the game, wasn't as interesting as it is actually in the show. And,
interesting. Okay.
So when I saw that she was cast for this, I was excited because I really like her work on Last of Us. And then it made me recall that she's been in one of our favorite superhero movies,
Dora the Explorer.
No,
but she was
one of your favorites.
She haven't seen it.
Well,
but...
she is Dora, but no, there's a movie that you maybe she got tangled up in this movie. Maybe you just don't remember her because Sydney Sweeney was in the movie.
Oh
yes, she was caught in the web.
Madame Web. So she got like her chance in a superhero movie, and obviously that's not going to go anywhere ever again. So I'm really happy for the actor.
Bizarre. I keep thinking like about like Sony's output, and it's just
like don't do it.
What are we thinking? People?
I watched
like,
Craven
what,
a couple
what
weeks
is going
ago,
on?
What
is
Craven
happening?
Just to watch it?
They're mishandling Spider-Man. They need to just like give those rights up.
It's not even that they're mishandling Spider-Man, because he's not even in it. They're just like they're beating around the bush for no reason. It's like $100 million there, $100 million there, $100 million there. I'll take 50 million back every time. It's just like, let's lose money, guys. Let's do this.
It's like a gambler, like they could put in like $200, and if they get like $50 back, they feel like they're ahead.
It's the sunk cost fallacy with the with the entire Sony. We're like way off. Sorry. Let's pull it back. Let's rein it back.
It's in comic books, but yeah, no, I agree. But yeah, no, it's
I liked Isabella Merced in this role. I wish there was more of all of these characters, but I guess we'll have to just wait until this universe continues growing. Okay, my cat's being really loud right now. I'll be right back. Sorry, what did I miss?
You missed tons, man. We're already done with the discussion.
Man, okay.
I agree, and I like that part where they're fighting that monster, and like she was hitting his eye.
Kaiju. Oh my gosh, that was so funny.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually like,
and then like he like closed his eye over the mace, and like it got stuck.
It's such a stupid way to handle a big monster, but it actually kind of makes sense. Like go for the eyes, and they're just poking away at its cornea. It's just.
I love how like they're like fighting it, and Superman's just like. Just kill it, and like they like proceed to kill it.
Yeah. So that scene, I think I have to talk about because I made a big stink about it online. So it involves a potential major timeline error where the film proposes that Lex Luthor and Mutant Toes go to. I call her Mutant Toes because I forget her name, but that was her name in Jimmy Olsen's book. As well as the other people. They go over to the Fortress of Solitude to find dirt on Superman. And in that scene, they ask, how do we keep Superman away? How do we, distract Superman? And Lex says that he has something planned. Basically suggesting that while they're there in the Fortress of Solitude, he has something that's going to distract Superman. But by the time we actually see the fight with the monster, it's the next day, it's at least 12 hours have passed because the monster is now fully grown. So it isn't really a distraction. And it really caused me to think wait, so am I supposed to believe that Lex Luthor was at the Fortress of Solitude, made it back to Metropolis, had a whole interview planned, got onto the interview, did all that, released the footage, translated the footage in the span of the 20 or so minutes that they were fighting this kaiju beast? Well, no, obviously that can't be true, but the way that it's written kind of it leans in that direction.
Well,
Like,
I think in that moment, this is where, well, I mean, it's not. I think it's. I know, it's one of those moments that you have to like suspend disbelief that, while this is happening, they're planning, like all of the. I guess like not everything is happening all at the same time. It's just like kind of over that time.
right,
This
right.
stuff is happening in the background while this creature is growing. They're planning to make their way over there, but it looks like it's all happening at the same time. And on the screen, it might seem like the monster was like a 20-minute fight, but like who knows? It could have been longer. It might have been rampaging for longer. I mean, it had been rampaging for longer because it eventually had to grow up, right?
Right,
to like
but I don't.
so
The actual distraction with Superman happened when it was like fully grown, like during the daytime.
Right.
So I guess so. There's two ways of looking at it. You can be very literal with the script, where the distraction that Lex Luthor needs to get the information from the Fortress of Solitude was Clark or Superman fighting this beast. So that would be Superman fighting this beast simultaneously with Lex Luthor extracting that information. Or it's just a weird line that Lex Luthor said, because by the time the distraction was occurring, Lex Luthor was already like being interviewed on that program, because we actually do see the interview happening in the background of that scene. Like on like billboards or like buildings, like there's screens on buildings and stuff. So upon a second watch, it made a little bit more sense to me. It's not as glaring of a plot hole, because the film actually is very good about keeping an internal, consistent timeline. Like there are 7 days showcased throughout the film. Each day that they have like a magazine on screen, or a newspaper on screen rather, it's dated correctly as to that day. So it would be like Monday the 18th, then Thursday the 22nd, something like that. It was very, very consistent like that. So I kind of just overlook it at this point as just like kind of a weird line that didn't need to be in there, because it ultimately just made me think too hard, and it distracted me from it. It was a distraction for me. It was more of a distraction for me than it was for Superman, I think. So
and I think like probably for Rich and I, like we just were like none the wiser. We are just like in it.
Yeah, I don't even think I until I saw your tweet, I didn't think about it like once. Like I was like, oh yeah, it's just like I don't know. I mean, it's just one of those things like the stupid movie. God, it's with Arnold Schwarzenegger where he fights the devil, and like this guy, they have a name carved into a body, and it's like he's like it says Christ in New York, and he's like, maybe it's Chris in New York, or Christine in New York, or Christine York, and then the name just pops up on the computer screen, and that's who they're looking for. Like, and I just kind of accepted it. I'm like, Arnold's just so good at like enigmas, or like even in the old Batman show, like he'd put in a bunch of evidence into like a machine, right? Like this old school computer, and they would like beep beep boop boop boop, and then it would give them like the location of where they had to go. Like, and I think that I just was like, yeah, of course Lex was able to do that. So I don't think I even thought about it.
That's another thing too. Like in my head, as I'm watching this, I'm thinking, all right, so Lex gets access to this alien language, or like 2 minutes max, 2 minutes total of like this sample of Kryptonian, like an alien language that has no etymological links to anything in like the Earth lexicon. And within the day, he has already communicated with all of the like the top 28 linguists in the world, and they've deciphered exactly what this says from a 2-minute sample. And I looked it up, like how long would it take linguists to like decipher a humanoid language from another planet? And according to ChatGPT, it would say realistically it would never happen from a 2-minute sample.
I'm gonna actually quiet the voices in your head with this. If
Okay.
he has a metahuman who can turn himself into a substance that doesn't even exist on this world, I wouldn't put it past Lex to have some sort of metahuman locked up in his pocket universe who's like the brainiac level of being able to figure stuff out.
I also think that you could make the argument that the computer that they hacked probably had some translation of the language. It's not the worst thing in the world. It just in the moment while that was happening, and the quick translation on screen for the world to see, I was just like, yeah, that's not possible.
Well, I mean, the thing is that here goes another one of those things, is that Lex might have had exposure to other things, from that language. I mean, he knew about kryptonite. That was never explained.
Yeah.
So the thing is that, you also got to think that, like, he might have had, some sort of Kryptonian language that he had been able to have analyzed. And so when it came to that time, they were able to download all that stuff. He was able to...
It's in the caves, man.
I guess get it.
Here's a question for you people.
It's
for
in
you
the
fine
caves.
folks. I got a question for you.
Lionel has it. He's in the caves. He's got the language already.
Dang it, Lionel. Yeah, he's like carving it into the wall, just like Phil Coulson in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
They mentioned early on that there's no more kryptonite left in the world. What happened to it? Where did it go? Like, does it dissolve? Like, does it have like a really like strong half-life, kind of like uranium, where it just starts disintegrating like really quickly? And that's what's I'm very confused about, like where all the kryptonite went. And they obviously know about kryptonite. I read the junior novelization where Luthor finds a substance that he imbues a cyborg with, that he determines eventually that this weakened Superman somehow. I don't know why, blah, blah, blah. And 3 years later, it is known as kryptonite, but it is also known as a substance that no longer exists in this world. So they have to bring in Element Man to create it. Where did it go, guys? What happened?
It disintegrated.
I like that theory. I
unless
Superman...
like Lex tried to do so much... tried to do so many experiments with it that it's not the same movie, but in Batman vs Superman, which obviously, astoundingly has so many similar themes that I'm rather shocked by the outrage of some of the people, the reaction to this movie, because I'm like, in some beats it's kind of the same story. It's still like, Superman's an outsider alien, and everyone kind of starts to turn on him a little bit here. And in that one, it was this idea that like they just had a finite amount, right? And that they could have messed it. Like Batman ends up getting his hands on it, and he almost wastes all of it, but before the end, right? So I could see a scenario where Lex has been like doing some shady experiments in the pocket realm. I mean, maybe even creation of Ultraman required in some strange way.
Okay.
How did he get the DNA? How did Superman's hair even fall off? Maybe that was even a kryptonite thing that got the hair cut, because you would imagine that his hair can't be cut by anything else. So, I mean, unless he's just going through early male pattern baldness.
He is in his early 30s. I mean, it's not unheard of.
I hope that in the next movie they're like, there is somebody who's like, how did he lose his hair? Or he's like, how did I lose it? And then Lois goes, well, I didn't want to say this, Clark, but I've caught some hairs in the shower. I've taken it out of the drain before you see it, but you have indeed been losing hair.
Hey, the average person loses like 30 to 60 hairs a day, so they grow back, but So anyway, yeah, that's fun. I like all the little stupid banter, but there's one thing that we need to talk about before we finish the conversation, and that's crypto. We haven't talked about crypto at all. I think that's a really fun thing like when I first saw the trailer and I saw him whistle and I saw the cloud of dust, like, in Antarctica, like coming towards him, I'm like, no way they're doing crypto, which is the most campy thing that's ever existed in comic books. I have a super dog. And, back in like the golden era, there was like a whole super family, and I guess they still exist in, modern comics, but they're not all as interlinked as they are in Golden Age stuff. But yeah, crypto is one of the most comic book things possible. And I think they handled it phenomenally, like in this movie. Just, it felt so... You didn't question it for a second within the confines of the logic of this film. Am I wrong there? Like, do you guys feel the same way?
No. Like I didn't feel like it. It didn't feel campy like, the comics, or they had that animated series also, Crypto the Super Dog,
Okay.
and so yeah, that I really felt like it made sense, and he had like the mannerisms of like a dog, like and that trailer was literally like the start of the movie also.
Mm-hmm.
And no, it was just like funny though, like, you know, the Crypto comes up and he's just like trying to play and like jump on him and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, that's so much so like what a dog would do, and it's infinitely worse because the dog is super strong.
Oh my gosh, it's probably so painful, like having, being recently beaten, like to a pulp. Superman is like incapable of walking, and you have this super dog just breaking bones trying to play with you. Love that. It's so funny.
Actually, that's one thing that I didn't bring up that I
What?
liked about this movie is that Superman was not overpowered. That was always my issue with Superman. They did give him a weakness, but Superman has always been like just overly strong. In the comic
Right. They
books, he
gave him
gets so much
boundaries.
stronger.
They gave him like boundaries that he can play around in. Like he's still the strongest, like superpowered being, I guess, outside of the Hammer of Baravia and or Ultraman. But I don't even know if that's true, because I think it's more that like brain beats brawn in that scenario where like Lex is controlling Ultraman so that he knows every move before Superman takes it. So I don't know that he's necessarily stronger than Superman. But yeah, I as far as Superman's power level goes, he's not infinitely strong. He does
Yeah.
have an upper limit, and it is met several times in this movie.
I also like that the superbots were like, you know, we got to give him a dose of the yellow sun, and like they magnified it so it was just like a straight beam of sun like hitting him, like he was getting hit with a Pokemon solar beam. And you know, that was like really cool. Like I liked that they did something like that. And then the robots were also like kind of funny, like, you know, oh, we're incapable of caring.
Yeah. I didn't really care for some of the minions of Lex Luthor. I thought that the film didn't really need it, and they could have written around them, but I guess it was cool to watch. But yeah. So anyway, do you guys have a favorite scene?
I think
Or
it's
like a scene where you felt like this is Superman?
he's up in the air. I know this sounds ridiculous because he flies, but it's the scene where almost kind of, I wouldn't say eclipses the sun, but it's just like he floats up and the screen is just the sun, like sunshine, like wrapping around him and enveloping him. And it just very much reminded me of, I don't know if you guys watched it, but like when I was super young, my grandmother would record all of the old, or she would find the old Superman cartoon from like the 1950s. And then just kind of the way he'd be up in the air with the light, almost a little bit like your background picture, Dakota, that everyone else can't see.
Yeah,
but just
yeah,
like
yeah.
this him and being enveloped. And that to me was like, that's Superman for me.
You're talking about the Max Fleischer animated stuff from like
Yes.
the 40s, right? Yeah. I think so. I'm trying to think. There's two scenes that I can think of that kind of work in that frame. There's one where he throws Ultraman into that like cavern, that tear in reality, and then he kind of like he descends onto the screen, and he's like light shines through the background or
Yeah.
whatever. There's that one, and then there's the scene that I like a lot, which is right after he saves that lady in the car, and he like busts out of like the rubble, and he's just floating and just like RF farming for a 2nd. I love that. That's a gorgeous shot.
Yeah.
I love that. Anthony, do you got a favorite scene?
I liked a lot of the scenes that humanized Superman, like the scene with his parents, you know, like where he's like recovering, or where he was like kind of like mentally beat up, and you know, Lois like was talking to him, and then you saw like that monster in the background, which was like, you know, Lois is like kind of like addresses it too, like, oh, were you helping him out over there? And like you could just see like the Justice Gang, you know, beating up on it. But I liked those moments that you know, because like you had you know, and it also like showed a lot of what Superman was, which was we focus so much on the super, but like, you know, like this is where like the man part shows, and you know, like the empathy, and he's like, you know, the dog, you know, he's like, you know, I need to turn myself in, you know, they're gonna bring me where the dog is, which was, you know, which was like a really good, like, you know, it was good intuition, because that's exactly what happened. Yeah, man, I just I liked those scenes, and it really showing the human side that he grew up with, and yeah, man, the humility.
Jumping on what you just said, Anthony, I think that scene specifically of him and Lois encapsulates the personage of Superman better than anything else in the film. Because she's like arguing with him about, you know, like the world is full of bad people, but you look at every life as something that's pure and beautiful. And that's literally Superman. Whether he's saving a squirrel or he's going out and chasing that dog, that's
he does that, and he saves a dog.
Yeah,
he uses
so
like the super breath of bloom from like under that monster. Yeah, dude, I was like, it's so funny because like you see that in like the animated series, and you see stuff like that in the comics. It's like, so yeah, like I mean, he really does, and I don't know, like I think that's what I really liked in those moments.
The scene that got me, or like the line that got me from that scene was, I have the script up in front of me. I'm gonna turn myself in. Maybe they'll take me wherever they took the dog. And Lois goes, "It's just a dog." And Superman goes, "I know. And he's not even a very good one. But he's alone. And he's probably scared." Mm-hmm. And he just flies out. That's the most Superman thing he could have said. It's so brilliantly written. I absolutely adore. I went back to see the movie a second time just for that scene. It you know, it pulls at the heartstrings, and it just makes the movie for me. And I feel like I haven't seen that Superman on screen in a long time.
And it's like, I mean, you have a well-behaved dog. I mean, my dog is
you have a crypto. You actually have a crypto.
I kind of have like just yesterday. I was sitting on the couch minding my business. The dog jumps up, angrily barks at me like he's talking to me, and then immediately pushes me off the couch to bring him outside, just so that he could run in figure eights. And then, I'm just like, what?
And then some dogs, I feel like they like learn the art of like where to get a reaction out of a man, because they like will literally jump on your family jewels, and like I don't know how they have the aim for that, but they always do it, and it's like and like you're in pain for like 5 minutes.
But you can't deny that. You can't deny their presence. That's the issue.
Right, right.
That's what they've learned.
You're like, dang you, and like that is like literally something that Crypto would do.
Yeah.
Something else that What did you think about the entrance of Rich's girl, you know, from his favorite TV show, House of the Dragon, Millie Alcock as Supergirl?
You're talking about, you're asking me or Rich?
Yeah, Rich.
All right. Well, I was. So I know that she had been cast for it beforehand. I didn't know that she was going to appear in this movie. And then I did a little bit of research on her, and it kind of... the little we got, although comedic, is going to probably be further explained, obviously, in her movie, and we're going to kind of deep dive into her there. I don't often like, if I have to be honest with superhero movies, I don't like when actors that I know portray the characters. I didn't know anything about Chris Hemsworth, for example, beforehand, and I was like, yeah, that's great. You know, like I didn't know Hugh Jackman at all, and although he's too tall, I was like, yeah, that's great. Like, you know, I don't love the fact that Pascal is in so much stuff. I think it's almost like I'm getting too much of him. You know, like I want him to be one guy, and I know actors don't want that in their lives.
What's his one guy for you though? Because I remember him from Game of Thrones.
So see, yeah, that's my. You know, I was like, oh, it's it's the spear of.
But then I liked him a lot in The Mandalorian also. So like, you know, like for me, like so you kind of typecast people a little bit.
Yeah, I do. I do.
You know, like for me, that like it doesn't bother me. Like I've seen Nathan Fillion in so many different things, Firefly and all stuff, and I think he killed it as Guy Gardner. I loved him as Guy Gardner. You know.
Oh,
I
thought he
do
was
think
great.
that Millie Alcock, her role as Rhaenyra Targaryen is very different from her portrayal of Supergirl, and I think that in itself is good enough for me. You know, like I even like the look of the character, like it's much more regal. She's got the white hair in Supergirl and all that, or in House of the Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
But do you still feel like that's a very familiar face? Is that like jumping out at you?
I mean, I'm gonna need to see the movie, right? Obviously, the appearance is the appearance, right? Like, you know, like we got what's his name, the guy who I'm sorry, who was supposed to play Hercules, but it looks like he's never gonna come out, right? Brett something. He's from. This is the worst podcast.
Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso. There we go. Right. So he came on as Hercules, and I'm like, "Are you joking me? Like that's the guy who curses and plays soccer."
Yeah.
You know. So
or even better, in Eternals, at the end of Eternals, when Harry Styles comes out in an outfit that doesn't even fit him. It doesn't. It doesn't. The outfit was just like he picked it up off the background of some casting lot somewhere. Put it on, just walked on stage. Very bizarre, and I don't think, you know what, we probably will see him again. That's what annoys me. But yeah, I don't know that we're going to see Hercules again.
Yeah, the movie, when her movie comes out, right? Like then I'll be able to probably comment a little bit more, because there was very little that we were given here. It was more Easter eggy to me than anything else.
I do like her character though. I love the irreverence that she's just like a angsty teenager, like going to parties and leaving her dog for weeks on end.
Can I comment more on that?
No, Rich, you can't. Go ahead.
Well, so I've been reading a little bit about the character, and the character. So she, so actually, her city like floated up from Krypton before it exploded or before it got destroyed. So she actually had like a Kryptonian experience a little bit longer, and then the reason she goes to these red planets is because she's grieving and she wants to be able to get drunk to drink the pain away.
To drink the sorrows.
So she's not just partying because she's like a wayward teen. It's because she's really going through it. And that's when I think it'll be interesting to see the actor's portrayal of the character. And then maybe she will become, in my eyes, maybe she'll be Supergirl before she's
It's interesting because there's definitely some weird like time dilation stuff with her where she was a teenager when her planet exploded, or a young adult. I don't know what they're going to do with that. Whereas Clark was a baby, and now Clark is the older one and she's the younger one. So the roles have reversed in some weird, strange like time dilation mayhem. Of like subjective reality, but I want to see how they play that in the movies, and I'm excited because I do like her irreverent attitude. You know, just coming back for her dog and leaving.
You know what? That's actually that's actually something that's like really cool that could be explored. Like that you're talking about the time dilation. You know, obviously she's going to these different galaxies and. You know, with the travel between the galaxies and all that stuff, you know, her aging, could be slowing down compared to Clark, who's just mainly on Earth.
It might be the yellow sun, like, is like a growth agent, like chloroplasts and stuff.
So that'll
we're
be
getting real
interesting.
Sci-fi here, folks.
Sorry,
we're getting real. We're bringing in chloroplasts here, guys. I think we should bring this podcast to a close, but not before. Like, anyone else have anything to say?
I'm good.
No, I'm good.
I want to bring up one last scene, specifically when Guy Gardner opened up the eye of the kaiju. That was a reference to this podcast and how we always say things are juicy, because like when he was poking the eyeball, it was a very juicy thing. So guys, if you liked the show today, you like our podcast, you want to see it relayed to more folks, please be sure to give us a juicy, eye-wateringly juicy 5-star review. Something that you wouldn't want to poke your eyes with, but you'd want to poke your ears with. Thanks so much for listening to us here for our 126th episode of Project Ecology. Again, this is Dakota signing off with Anthony and Rich, and we hope you enjoyed our show. If you want to check out any of our socials, be sure to click down into the show notes for more. Thanks, guys. See you next week.
Bye.
The Wolverine.
Perfect.